So, have you ever found yourself completely absorbed in an activity? Maybe driving home on autopilot or, you know, deep in some creative task where everything just clicks?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of effortless flow.
Exactly, where you're performing almost without thinking and the world around you seems to sharpen almost. It's a fascinating state.
It really is. Those moments, whether it's high stakes or just a long drive, they hint at something deeper, a different way our consciousness can work.
Than our usual cluttered headspace, yeah. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Our whole exploration kicked off when we first looked at that profound Japanese insight about reality and self.
Mm.
We spent some time really unpacking the what of it, and now we're going to shift to something maybe even more compelling,
Right.
tracing the truly unique journey of someone who embodies this state, but not through, like, medication retreats or anything conventional. It was, well, kind of unintentional.
Right. So our mission today is really to understand this state of consciousness, how someone got there through this very unusual route, and crucially, for you listening, what it's actually like to live that way.
Yeah, we'll look at the physiology, the perception shifts, the surprising paradoxes too.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's start with the core idea again, just to ground us. The sources we've been looking at describe everyday reality as a kind of high-resolution dream.
Yeah, while our actual sleep dreams are low-resolution dreams.
Hmm.
Both immersive, though, like watching a really sharp movie versus a fuzzy one. You're just in it either way.
And the key thing coloring this experience is what's called the self-filter, or filter, I filter in Japanese.
Exactly. That personal lens, rooted in our ego, our sense of me, it adds that me or mine flavor to everything. It's like a constant overlay.
But here's the twist, the paradox. This filter, this me-ness, is actually seen as a hindrance to perception.
Right. The more it's active, the more reality feels controlled,
Yeah.
less vivid somehow.
The sources literally say the more the sense of reality diminishes, the more vivid reality becomes. It sounds completely backward.
It does. And neuroscientifically, we know this filter is closely tied to the default mode network, the DMN.
That brain network that lights up when we're daydreaming or thinking about ourselves.
Precisely. When your mind is wandering.
So this brings us to PNSE, persistent non-symbolic experience. What happens to the filter then?
It thins out dramatically. It's a really profound shift. The sources say self-image files are hardly loaded and thoughts hardly occur. Consciousness feels lighter, thinner.
Like a transparent film instead of a thick lens.
That's a great way to put it.
So if the filter things, does that mean like physical pain or discomfort just vanishes? Or is it experienced differently?
Great question. It's the latter. The sources suggest the raw sensation is still there. Discomfort is still discomfort.
Yeah.
But the story attached drops away. It's not my discomfort loaded with personal history and fear. It's just discomfort, a pure phenomenon like watching the weather inside your body. And this lines up with the neuroscience too. You see suppressed DMN activity in PNSE. That self-referential chatter quiets down. And it's not just on-off. Researchers talk about a spectrum, different locations of PNSE.
Okay, so the thinning filter reveals this emptiness, araposa. But you said it's not a void.
Exactly. Not a blank nothingness. It signifies the non-self-referential nature of perception. There isn't a fixed me at the center interpreting everything. It's experience without that central subject constantly grabbing onto it.
So if you look at strong emotions in that state, that low noise state,
You find, well, nothing in particular at their root. They're seen for what they are. Physical reactions, neural signals. The story isn't there to amplify them.
like sensory data that doesn't quite stick together to form a me or a story.
Yeah, that's related to a Yoga-Kara Buddhist idea, unripened conditions.
Yeah.
The input is there, but it doesn't solidify into that solid self-narrative. It just flows through.
And this leads to that really mind-bending idea, the unity of giving and receiving. They aren't separate.
Not fundamentally. They're seen as inseparable aspects of one single flow, like two sides of the same coin, constantly flipping. All phenomena are part of this one fluid existence.
Okay, examples. How does that show up?
Well, think about everyday stuff. You treat a friend to coffee, their thank you, the satisfaction you feel, it's not separate, it's the completion of the act of giving. It's one loop,
Makes sense.
and it scales up. Science shows it too. Newton's third law, right?
Right.
Action-reaction. The Earth reflecting sunlight back to space. constant give and take.
And philosophically, you mentioned Buddhism, Taoism.
Yeah, Buddhist views are generosity, Angier dependent arising, the Taoist yin-yang, even Hegel's dialectic. They all point to this active interconnectedness, this dynamic exchange, not just things existing side by side passively.
It gets really wild at the quantum level, though.
Oh, absolutely. The observer effect, observing a particle, changes its state. The observer gives influence. The particle gives a result.
Like a conversation.
In a way, yeah, or quantum entanglement. Measure one particle, its twin instantly gives you its state, no matter the distance. Non-local give and take.
And that time stuff. Delayed choice experiments.
Suggests that even moments in time might be linked by this mutual giving and receiving.
Yeah.
Future affecting past. It really challenges our linear view.
Okay, so we've explored these concepts, reality as a dream, the filter thinning, this profound unity. It sounds, well, almost mystical.
It can sound that way, sure.
Which brings us to the how. How does someone actually get to experience this? Because the story here, the journey we're tracing, it's so different. Not intentional practice, but almost accidental.
Exactly. That's what makes this case study so fascinating. It didn't start with a spiritual goal. It started much earlier with just an objective perspective, a pure question.
A question about what?
About the gap, the discrepancy between information colored by the self-thoughts, feelings, and the raw sensory input from the body.
So even early on, this person was noticing their own filter.
In a way, yes. While most of us are just lost in our stories, they had this knack for objectifying the function of the myfilter, like a natural observer of their own mind, even before they had labels for it.
Okay, so phase one of the journey, driving. Lots of driving.
Thousands of hours.
Mm-hmm.
From about 2014 to 2020, something like 2,000 hours over 6 years. Long commutes, 2 to 10 hours a couple times a week.
And this induced a flow state.
An unconditional flow state, yeah. That feeling of the car moving, scenery flowing, like being on autopilot, especially at night. It became this sort of unconscious dynamic meditation.
Without trying to meditate at all.
Not at all. It just happens, subtly reprogramming the brain towards a PNSE-like state.
And then around 2020, something shifted. The driving state started spilling over.
Exactly. After all those hours, they realized this state was sticking around in daily life. A sort of aha moment, as they put it.
And crucially, the filter thinning came first, before feeling physically better.
That's key. The attenuation of the myfilter preceded physical ease. This led to this core intuition. The ignition of consciousness is not me.
Wow.
Self-image files weren't loading. Bodily sensations became just pure sensations. Discomfort, not my discomfort.
Okay, phase 3. Desk work meditation. Sounds intriguing.
Right. From around 2024, maybe 500 hours over a year, focusing on subtle body adjustments, mental stability, well, sometimes pretending to work.
Huh. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Apparently. And this led to an abnormal increase in physical control and mental stability. By 2025, they felt hardly even the slightest anxiety.
So emotions didn't vanish, but they flattened out.
Yeah, joy and anxiety not felt excessively, like the roots are there, but they don't grow. Just this constant, stable, good condition of fascinating balance.
So how did these physical things, driving, desk work adjustments, actually do that? How did they reinforce PNSE?
It seems to boil down to really precise, consistent bodily adjustments that subtly retrain the nervous system.
Like what?
Things like spinal alignment, pointing the pit of the stomach forward, lifting the collarbone slightly, getting the spine aligned so gravity passes right through the vertebrae, minimizing tension.
Stuff we don't normally think about.
Exactly. And neck and jaw posture, too.
Yeah.
Pulling the head back, tucking the chin so the neck rests naturally on the torso. Small things done consistently, quieting the whole system's baseline noise.
And the eyes. You mentioned eye focus.
Critical. Feeling a point-focused pressure, eye sockets, under eyes, nasal cavity, back of throat, helps quiet the mind. The insight was, if the eyeballs move, consciousness becomes restless. If the eyeballs quiet, consciousness settles.
So stopping the little flicks, the saccades.
Reduces sensory input, settles the mind. And techniques like hanging half closed, blurry eyes, or soft eye wide, unfocused gaze turn attention inward. Less external stuff grabbing you.
What about breathing? Diaphragm.
Huge role. Consciously working the diaphragm directly influences the autonomic nervous system, boosting the parasympathetic, the rest and digest side.
And it releases endorphins.
Yeah. Endogenous opioids, natural pain relief, pleasure chemicals, like beta endorphin.
Okay, so deep breathing stimulates the vagus nerve.
Right. Increases parasympathetic activity, leads to deep relaxation, better brain waves, sometimes that feeling of dissolving into space. High HRV heart rate variability is a good indicator of this balanced state.
So the endorphins are like the fuel for this constant good feeling.
Pretty much. Consistent physical inputs train the brain pathways to keep releasing these opioids,
Right.
like a low-level, continuous runner's high.
Wow.
It gives pain relief, pleasure, euphoria, stress tolerance. Serotonin gently increases too, adding stability. The brain literally learns this pleasure state through repetition, making it the default.
So the brain's basically learning to give itself a natural high just by existing this way. That's quite a biological hack.
It really is. Your internal pharmacy optimizes itself. The body also learns this constant detensioning state, releasing deep muscle co-contraction, bringing trunk debt, that core tension, near zero.
A deep physical letting go.
Exactly. And even diet helps, like one meal a day reduces metabolic noise, promotes mild ketosis, which also seems to enhance these pleasure networks.
Okay, this all leads to purification of will. What's that?
It means clearing out distracting thoughts and images to fully commit to the action of the present moment. Actions become driven by pure sensation, less attachment to outcomes. The body just responds optimally.
Like an efficient response mechanism.
Yeah. And finally, there's this variable gear flow model.
Shifting gears.
Seamlessly between concentration gear, flow state, immersion, time distortion, work just happening, maybe leaning forward slightly, and detachment gear, more meditative, vagus nerve input, silent, feeling of dissolving, weight balanced.
And the brain networks shift too.
Right. Salience network on standby, DMN suppressed, but the insulin, somatosensory, cortex body awareness areas get emphasized. It's a highly optimized system for experiencing the world differently.
So after all that, what does it actually feel like day to day, living in PNSE?
Well, the source is stress. It's Jamita Nichijeki, plain and everyday, not flashy spiritual fireworks.
An ordinary self in an extraordinary state.
Exactly. There's this attitude, caring,
Yeah.
but not caring.
Meaning?
Like, it doesn't matter, but the ordinary me cares, including that it doesn't matter. Accepting the human caring part without being hooked by it.
And activities all feel kind of equal.
Almost equal value, yeah. Coding, YouTube, meditating, social media, just feeling body sensations.
Yeah.
No anxiety about the inconsistency.
Huh. And consciousness feels fluid. Multitasking, single tasking.
The mind isn't dragged around. It allows efficient switching between things, but feels like doing them simultaneously because the switching is so smooth. Not true multitasking, more like hyper-efficient single tasking.
And this loss of consciousness thing, logging out.
Yeah. Increasingly frequent logouts from normal reality into a dreamlike state. Happens just blinking sometimes. Or closing eyes. Logical thought isn't there. Thoughts feel more like hearing someone else speak.
Not generated by me.
Right. Which leads to that ego dissolution question. Is it really me? There's observing, but the observer feels unclear, less solid.
How does it handle stuff like anxiety or trauma?
Triggers still exist, but they seem to just emit signals in the background at a sensory level. They don't run wild as thoughts because there's this non-stickiness. The mind doesn't cling.
So anxiety feels distant.
Yeah, like
Uh-huh.
someone you dislike can no longer get within a 1-kilometer radius. But the bodywork yoga meditation acts as an overrider. Physical sensations can wash away subtle anxieties. The body's an anchor.
And maybe extreme stuff becomes physical pain instead of psychological.
That's a hypothesis mentioned. Physical pain is still felt strongly, but maybe psychological distress has a ceiling, converting over if it gets too intense.
Interesting. What about memory and time?
Memories are there, but they lose the my personal story quality, more like neutral data, images, less emotional charge.
And a focus on the now.
A profound centering in what is now. Past and future stories weaken. Regrets might surface, but they no longer feel like my life.
Are there downsides? Socially.
Potentially. The flattening of emotional highs and lows can make empathy seem muted to others. Might make close bonds trickier to form or maintain in the usual way.
And motivation. Ambition.
Often a drop, yeah. The usual drives achievement, competition, career. They just lose their pull.
Yeah.
The social games seem less compelling.
Okay, and the head empty feeling.
Despite lots of information coming in, there's less conceptualizing, less inner talk. Pure experience, pure sensation comes forward.
So reason isn't gone, it's just different.
It's described as a tool summoned as needed, especially for social interaction, acting as a social bridge, a functional fragment of reason used deliberately.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive, it's really taken us from the concept, this Japanese insight about reality as a dream, the filter all the way to this person's actual lived journey.
Yeah, this extraordinary unintentional path through driving and desk work, leading to these physiological shifts in this completely different way of being.
And the big surprise is that it wasn't intentional spiritual practice. It was just consistent, almost mundane stuff, cultivating flow and retraining the brain.
Exactly, that unintentionality is maybe the most striking part.
So, final thought for everyone listening. If our everyday reality is a kind of high-res dream shaped by our filters, and if things like driving or focused work can subtly retrain us towards something so different, what subtle training is your brain undergoing right now? Maybe without you even noticing.
Mm. And what might that reveal about the true nature of your own experience right here, right now?